Tune in Tokyo. Is it incompetence or sabotage? You decide. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer. Most of the information is from memory. I cross-examine dates with Instagram posts, messages, and flyers, but I'm not infallible. There may be inaccuracies, but these are all facts that I believe to be true. Number 2, I've been advised against doing this by several members in the community, including ongoing partners for events. I've decided to go through with it partially because I've spoken with a member of the community who appears to have knowledge of how Marcus operates, but has a hard time removing him from their organization because it's not pragmatic to do so. You can either stand on principle or you can get by with pragmatism. I'm not saying the latter is the wrong path. I can respect it, but it is not the way I do things. I know many of you are looking for TLDR before going into the details, so I'm going to read you the summary of my grievances first and then get into the details. Transporting borrowed turntables without protective case despite being lent a case with the turntables. Promising XDJ XZ but providing XDJ RX, causing guest DJs to have to adapt or use their own backup controller. Bakun's set getting cut early at 2 different events. Remembering to pick up sunflowers but forgetting to pick up a set of speakers and scuffing up my brand new pair by dragging them on the floor. Claiming a former partner of Raijin is a liar and dangerous to defend Raijin, only to throw his ass under the bus when he gets caught snitching to Playboy. The suspicious timing of finally giving me my first gig after months of me supporting them, when it becomes clear I have opportunities to DJ with another group who, in parentheses, Raijin snitched to Playboy. Saying there will be CDJs at a show and wasting my time preparing in Record Box by notifying me the day of the event that the CDJs were not procured. Saying there would not be CDJs at a show, then showing up with CDJs and trying to pressure me into using them with less than half an hour to prepare. Framing me advising him to buy a cable he needs to do a gig he was hired for as a favor he was doing me. Crying about being broke and then eating $30 sandwiches in my face after I took pity and let him keep the money I earned over 2 days of labor. Not knowing a projector is broken because it's in a box placed underneath the working one, but somehow returns the broken projector that was too inconvenient to reach previously, along with a remote that came out of the box with the working projector, which was on top. Scheduling a guest DJ from 1:20 a.m. to 2 a.m. when the organizers had scheduled the event to officially end at 1:30 a.m. and eventually having the event shut down early at 1 a.m. Not taking the initiative to remedy breaking someone's property and only taking responsibility once asked to do so, twice. Being a partner and having your branding all over their marketing and their branding all over your marketing, and being called a co-producer to an event series to someone who gets caught snitching on intellectual property with a clear motive against the competition and a personal vendetta against their former audio provider who did their last event. Alright, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to give you a table of contents which will be time markered in the description for your convenience. Table of contents: Prelude, Kazoku Festival 1, My History with Tune in Tokyo, The Unmasking, Summer Kickoff, Kazoku Festival 2, Controversy, The Raijin Controversy, Heisei Nights 1, Lending Speakers, Japan Family Day, Heisei Nights 2, Heisei Nights 3, The Earnings from Japan Family Day, 15-year anniversary, Meeting at Chado, Rumors about Little Akihabara, Returning Broken Projector, Snitching, and Summery. Number 1, Prelude. April 16th, 2022, an event called Kazoku Festival took place at Steelcraft Brewery in Garden Grove. It was founded by Senpai Inu, Shinobi, and Raijin. The relationship between Senpai Inu and Raijin was tumultuous as the event date closed in and the event was done at a loss. The co-founders decided to terminate the relationship after their failed event. My history with Tune in Tokyo. I started attending events based on a recommendation from a fellow DJ in the community. First show I went to was February 10th, 2023. That was Showa Drift in Corona. I also attended March 10th, 2023, Plastic City in Boyle Heights. I missed the show at Grand Star Jazz Club on May 20th, 2023. That's Shiba Starlight #1. I attended June 17th, Shiba Starlight. I saw they didn't have 1200s and figured that's why they weren't mixing anything. So I offered to lend them a set as I have some sitting in storage. It turns out they just don't know how to mix and never bothered to learn it even after having professional turntables for 7 months. Around June 20th, I lent Marcus two 1210s and a carpeted coffin. Here comes the unmasking. This is a summer kickoff. On June 30th, Marcus shows up to the venue with the 1210s with no coffin. It should be common sense that if I lend you turntables in a case, that you travel with them in the case, as the 1210s have very fragile parts and it's too easy to break during travel. Either he has no common sense or he has no respect for the equipment I lend him. This is a running theme. Also, he promises a Pioneer XDJ XZ to the guest DJs playing the party, some coming from the East Coast, and provides an XDJ-R. There's quite a difference between these controllers, and many of the guest DJs are blindsided by this. If we were to interpret this charitably, Marcus is too incompetent to understand the difference between the two and how it would affect his guest DJs. But a cynical interpretation is that he did this on purpose to make his guest DJs look bad and the Tune in Tokyo DJs appear better in comparison. This will be a running theme, and I want you to decide if it's a coincidence or a pattern of behavior. The event gets shut down early by the venue, and Bakun's set gets cut off early. Marcus has mentioned several times to me that he feels like Anisong Hijack owes Tune in Tokyo a debt of gratitude for helping them get started in the early stages. So I already know Marcus feels some type of way about Anisong Hijack. The Kazoku Festival 2 controversy. During the planning for Kazoku Festival 2, I advised Marcus that he needs to give me a contract for the day in order to reserve me from other opportunities that may come my way. He doesn't, and I get hired for a third-party event, making it impossible for me to be at Kazoku Festival 2. Out of the kindness of my heart, I continue the consultation process to understand the needs of the bands and create a sound design with my equipment, which he will borrow. I determined that this event will require a minimum of a fully trained A2 technician. There is no one within Marcus's contact that can perform at an A2 level, so I need to train someone from the ground up. Marcus chooses Butterscotch, one of the performers who makes beats in his bedroom, but have never hooked up a PA system. And I limit the inputs for the event to 8 inputs to lower the liability of having someone green run the system, and nerf the outputs to make sure it's harder to blow my speakers. July 28th, I drop off the equipment at JACCC and spend about 3 hours training Butterscotch on how to gain stage inputs and how to send signal to monitors, as well as how to hook up the hardware. July 29th, on the morning of, Marcus forgets to pick up some guy named Tommy's speakers, which were planned to be used as monitors, but doesn't forget to pick up sunflowers at the Flower District, and uses my brand new speakers as floor monitors, which causes them to get scuffed up. It felt like he did this to punish me for not committing the date to him for free, but it could also be blamed on incompetence. Again, plausible deniability. I've heard someone call him passive-aggressive, and this would fall right into that category. He also leaves Butterscotch to handle all sound during the event and strike the event by himself, and some parts go missing. I've also trained them on how to gather the cables in a way that won't damage them, as it would take longer to train them on over-undering the cables. But the cables come back wrapped. Some over-under, which indicates that a musician or JACCC tech helped. Essentially, Marcus doesn't show respect for the equipment I lend him and acts totally oblivious to the damage he has caused. I have to air my grievances with him to get him to take responsibility for this. Another running theme. July 30th, I pick up the gear from JACCC. I believe this is the day I lent Marcus the first of 2 ultra short throw projectors to be used at their events. The Raijin Controversy. August 16th, I attend Mini Otaku Mart and meet Senpai Inu of HeroLine.co for the first time. I also meet Chris and Louie from Rose City for the first time and offer them DJ and audio services for their upcoming convention on the 20th, which they are immediately interested in. I also offer Senpai Inu audio help since she does events more locally to me, but she reveals that she's reluctant because of my association with Tune in Tokyo, Raijin, and the Kazoku Festival, which I'm confused by. So she gives me the history of Kazoku Festival, which I covered earlier. I found out that when Kazoku 2 was announced, Senpai Inu made a public service announcement stating that the brand was resurrected without her permission, and she and the other co-founder were not involved in the new iteration of Kazoku. August 17th, I have Instagram messages with Marcus regarding Senpai Inu. Marcus calls a meeting so he can discuss this in person, which appears that he has to say something that will not remain on record. August 18th, meeting with Marcus. He runs a campaign against Senpai Inu, calling her a liar and a total B word, and to be careful, quote unquote, if I decide to work with her. He then invites me to DJ Heisei Nights, the first time I'm being platformed by Tune in Tokyo, after all this time I've been helping with their events. The timing appears like a carrot he's dangling so he doesn't lose my audio support to Rose City, who I barely met but have already committed to platforming me. I later message Raijin on Instagram and he tells me the same things about Senpai Inu, calls her a liar and a big pain in the ass. But what I find is that he's telling half-truths, while everything negative he has to say about Senpai Inu, she said about herself when I first met her. One of these half-truths is that he originally stated that he didn't lock Senpai Inu and Shinobi out of the email and social media accounts. But it turns out he did, and was able to do so because he was the person who set them up in the first place. I have an apprehension about Raijin from this point on. August 19th, Shibuya Starlight. The guys figure out how to use the ultra short throw projector on the dance floor instead of on the wall, which creates a cool video dance floor effect. I hear about this and get excited and impulse purchase a second projector. August 20th, Rose City Hillary Edition. It was a great convention, but there was a hurricane. September 8th, Heisei Nights 1. I advise on the optics of using controllers and not performing on professional level equipment to Marcus, and Marcus promises CDJ 3000s until the day of the event when he said he couldn't get the CDJs after I spent hours preparing the set on Record Box during the week. When we arrive at the venue, they offer CDJs, but it turns out they were the CDJ 2000 Nexus 1s in bad repair as I found out during the performance, and I couldn't reject them after they had already set them up. I performed terribly in front of the whole community who were seeing me play live for the first time. It felt like Marcus did all this to reach this outcome so that they wouldn't look as bad in comparison. Just the same way it felt for the performers at the summer kickoff party, but it could be that he sincerely tried to get the CDJ 3000s and failed to do so. I give him the benefit of the doubt, but you'll see that a pattern form with these events. September 11th, we attend the Pepper Osaka show at Astro's South Bay. I lend Marcus a pair of 15-inch powered speakers and speaker stands because he needs a pair of speakers for a K-pop show he's doing in the Central Valley. I tell him he needs to get his own XLR cables since 1, they aren't expensive and they should own some as a group, and 2, I don't like that they couldn't follow instructions at Kazoku Festival 2 and wrap my cables in properly. He later frames me telling him to buy his own cables that he will use, me requesting that he gets the cable, as if he's doing me a favor by buying cables that he needs. His choice of words bothered me, but maybe I'm being petty. September 16th, Shibuya Starlight. I delivered the second ultra short throw projector and a 10-inch speaker with a speaker stand so they can use it as a monitor for the DJs. Japan Family Day. September 30th and October 1st. I do the audio and the event goes well. We have Hamacotton and Berry perform, and DJs in between. Raijin has a big display for his products. Later on, when the payment came in, I let Marcus keep my cut of the earnings because he kept complaining about being broke and not being paid from these activities. October 12th, Heisei Nights 2. Again, Marcus promises CDJs, but I want to use my new controller with stems, so I will be using my controller. But when we get there, he did not get the CDJs. November 12th, Heisei Nights 3. Marcus tells me all week that he won't be able to get the CDJ 3000s, despite the fact that Bakun will be using them at AX Chibi that day and will be coming to Heisei Nights to perform that evening. I figure Spiky needs them somewhere else and will not be attending Heisei Nights 3. Lo and behold, Marcus shows up with Bakun and the CDJ 3000s half an hour before the event and tries to force me to use them. He knows I prepared a set in Serato that relies heavily on stems, and that it takes time to even convert cue points across platforms. I put my foot down and use my controller. It again feels like he's throwing a monkey wrench into the plan to make me perform like shit and make himself look good in comparison. Sometime in November, payment from Japan Family Day comes in, and it's a measly $700 for 2 days of service. Marcus complains about how he hasn't made any money off these activities, and I feel sorry for him, so I let him keep my portion, probably half of the money. I did at least 70% of the labor at the event, since no one else knows how or can even be bothered to show up on time or learn anything. December 5th, Marcus claims to have spent $700 on online marketing for the 15-year anniversary, and sales are bleak. December 8th, 15-year anniversary show is canceled by the venue. On December 10th, there's a protest called Justice for Suehiro. I arrive after the protests against gentrification in Little Tokyo and end up just meeting Marcus and Danny at Chado and watch Marcus eat $30 sandwiches and tea after I let him keep my cut of working for Japan Family Day. It felt like straight up disrespect, like he can spit in my face with no consequences. But I give him the benefit of the doubt and tell myself he's just oblivious, and I'm being petty. During this meeting, he starts talking about Little Akihabara and how he's going to need me to do sound. I tell him I'll need a direct contract for each date or I can't turn down other opportunities. Returning the broken projector. On December 17th, Anime Marketplace, he brings back one of the projectors. I give it directly to Louis so he can bring it with him on setup night, December 21st, for Night at the Ramada. December 21st, setup day at Ramada, the projector is broken. I notify Marcus and have him bring the other projector on the day of the event since he will be working the event. December 23rd, Night at the Ramada, Marcus brings the other projector. I'll come back to the topic of the broken projector in a little bit during the meeting I have with him on January 14th, the day I broke up with Tune in Tokyo. December 30th, AniKura Unison. I kicked Tune in Tokyo's ass in their own dojo. I've had enough watching these so-called DJs perform city pop at shows without mixing a single record, so I decided to go on their show and demonstrate how it's done on spiky CDJs, equipment I'm not familiar with, on software I'm not familiar with. December 18th. One day after Marcus returned the broken projector, Marcus releases the first draft of the schedule for AniStage and has me scheduled at 1:20 a.m. to 2 a.m. January 4th, Marcus posts photo of AniStage program in print. Hours clearly reads 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. This is further confirmed the next day with the official social media graphic that comes from ALA organizers that the party would end at 1:30 a.m. January 5th, AniStage gets shut down at 1 a.m. during Bakun's set due to shitty programming and bad attendance. He put G-Wiz, a hardcore bang bang music DJ, right after Hamacotton, the most bubblegum, cutesy idol performer, polar opposites. Not only did Marcus schedule me during hours that were beyond the official scheduled time, he programmed the lineup in a way that was asking to be shut down early. It feels like he was doing this to punish both me and Bakun for being better DJs than him. January 13th, Marcus goes on Anisong Hijack again and doesn't mix a single track. January 14th, I go to Marcus's house to pick everything up, 3 speakers, turntables, with the coffin, wireless microphones. I confront him on everything. His explanation for not knowing the projector was broken was that he kept the 2 boxes stacked and only used the one on top with the remote at the events and didn't take the one underneath because it's more convenient to grab the box that's on top. However, when returning a projector to me, he took the remote out of the box on top, then moved that box out of the way and put the remote in the box that was on the bottom and took that with him to AMP to return to me. I asked why the logic between the 2 of these doesn't match, and his answer is, well, why not? Plausible deniability. It sounds like I just caught him in a lie though. I'm sure the majority of people listening to this would agree. Also, I waited 3 weeks for him to come to me with a resolution for the broken projector, but I ended up having to be the one to bring it up for him to consider it. Isn't it the responsibility of the borrower to correct the situation and make it right? Isn't that self-evident? Suppose the best case scenario where he's just oblivious about etiquette and responsibility and really he's just a dummy with a golden heart. I certainly can't move forward with someone like that on a project like Little Akihabara, which involves leaving my turntables and speakers for a pop-up and mixers, microphones, etc. overnight during idle events. He's about to jump into a scenario which involves more moving parts, liability, and responsibility, and this is someone who supposedly doesn't know what time a show is scheduled until and books DJs beyond those hours. So I decided I won't be lending them any more equipment because he won't be responsible for them, and I won't be involving myself with any more of their activities because he's wasted enough of my time with his leadership. I give him the benefit of the doubt, although I had my suspicions that some of these things happen on purpose and out of malice. I wanted to believe that he's just indeed someone who bites off more than he could chew, and he's at his core an honest and sincere guy. That's where I left it in January. I even went to Akiba Outlier, originally to see what a mess it was without me and to jeer at them, but was surprised at how well it was presented outside of the uncontrolled rainwater leaking into the building, which isn't Tune in Tokyo's fault. I also had a long talk with Danny, and it turned out that he heard all the bad things that I said about the group during Marcus and I's meeting on January 14th, but Marcus had conveniently left out the details about the projector and me getting cut off at ALA, and that resulting in me leaving the group. As far as I was concerned, there was no bad blood between me, Marcus, or any other member of Tune in Tokyo, and I wanted to leave all that in my past. H-Night vs. Kazoku 3. Then, the incident with H-Night vs. Kazoku 3 happened. I've been the sound guy for Rose City and have had several successful events with them, and we had an upcoming event on May 11th called H-Night scheduled, and it just so happened to be the same date as Kazoku Festival 3. Our event was in South El Monte, and theirs was in Commerce, 7 miles away, so we were in direct competition. Raijin was caught snitching a Playboy about Rose City using their Bunny Girl trademark, which led to Rose City having to remove all mentions and imagery of bunnies on social media. Meanwhile, Kazoku Festival 3 was cancelled. Also, someone called a board member of South El Monte City Council the night before the event to have a permit revoked for the use of a land parcel across the street from the venue to be used as the parking lot. One thing to note at this point is that I was involved with Kazoku 2 and now involved with H-Night, their direct competition. This is as much a vendetta against me as it is the competition. It was leaked to the public that these things were happening behind the scenes, and Marcus released a statement via the Tune in Tokyo Instagram account that he had nothing to do with the snitching/sabotaging of H-Night, and Raijin is 100% in control and responsible for the activities of Kazoku, and that Marcus was completely unaware that he was doing these things. I found it very hard to believe because I've been in the planning platforms with them on Instagram messaging and Discord throughout the Heisei Nights, Japan Family Day, and beginning stages of Akiba Live, and I know how they operate. They discuss everything microscopically, and I can't imagine Raijin doing this unilaterally, at least without some amount of brainstorming. I've said my piece, and the other stuff with Weave Fest blowing up, which is a topic for another video, but I did step up to Marcus at Anime Riverside in June to let him know that if he wants to talk, we can talk. He hasn't initiated any conversation since. Marcus has managed to keep his hands clean of the situation and can claim plausible deniability again. But how does so many of these things keep happening around one person? Let me summarize my grievances. Transporting turntables without protective case despite being lent a case with the turntables. Promising Pioneer XDJ XZ but providing XDJ RX, causing guest DJs to have to adapt or use their own backup controller. Bakun's set getting cut off early at 2 different events. Remembering to pick up sunflowers but forgetting to pick up a set of speakers and scuffing up my brand new pair by dragging them on the floor. Claiming a former partner of Raijin as a liar and dangerous to defend Raijin, only to throw his ass under the bus when he gets caught snitching a Playboy. The suspicious timing of finally giving me my first gig after months of me supporting them, when it becomes clear I have opportunities to DJ with another group who Raijin snitched to Playboy. Saying there would be CDJs at a show and wasting my time preparing a record box by notifying me the day of the event that the CDJs were not procured. Saying there will not be CDJs at a show, then showing up with CDJs and trying to pressure me to use them with less than half an hour to prepare. Framing me advising him to buy a cable he needs to do a gig he was hired for as a favor he was doing me. Crying about being broke and then eating $30 sandwiches in my face after I took pity and let him keep the money I earned over 2 days of labor. Not knowing a projector is broken because it's in a box placed underneath the working one, but somehow returns the broken projector that was too inconvenient to reach previously, along with the remote that came out of the box with the working projector, which was on top. Scheduling a guest DJ from 1:20 a.m. to 2 a.m. when the organizers had scheduled the event to officially end at 1:30 a.m. and eventually having that event shut down early at 1 a.m. Not taking the initiative to remedy breaking someone's property and only taking responsibility once asked to do so. Twice. Being a partner and having your branding all over their marketing and their branding all over your marketing, and being called the co-producer to an event series to someone who gets caught snitching on intellectual property with a clear motive against the competition and a personal vendetta against their former audio provider who did their last event. So what do you think? Is it all incompetence or is it sabotage? Maybe it's a mixture of both. Either way, it's a very poor track record, and I would advise everyone to stay clear of working with this person or going to his events. Trust me, I've had my time wasted and worse.